The BRSCC BMW Compact Cup is brought to you by Nankang Tyres and Gas Shocks.
Hello and welcome to the 2019 Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup season opener. We're in a very sunny Brands Hatch, and following on from last year, we have Stephen Daly joining us, trying to get a triple crown this year. But I think he's going to have an interesting time with Ian Jones starting ahead of him on pole position. Now I'm going to hand it over to Andy McEwen, our commentator for the season, to see his opinions on the matter.
It's going to be good, isn't it? We're going to see some really, really good racing this year. I spoke to Ian Jones actually in the paddock a moment ago. He's done no testing over the winter, had no idea how quick he'd be here at Brands Hatch, stuck it straight on pole position. So we saw last year Stephen Daly had some of the fiercest competition he's ever had to face in the championship, and I think that's going to continue to be the case in 2019. There are so many potential race winners, and all of them will be feeling that they can fight for the championship.
Yeah. It's going to be a difficult one for you, but you need to get your little self up in that commentary box, so we're going to hand it straight over to him with all the action.
Thanks very much, Lindsay. Well, here is how the grid lines up then for our opening race of the season. It is Ian Jones and Stephen Daly on the front row together for round one, with David May and Mark Skeets on row two. Paul Maguire makes his debut straight onto the third row alongside Tom Griffiths, with Lee Dendy Sadler, another quick debutant, on row four alongside his teammate Alan Caulfield. Then it's Matthew Parkinson, Steve Chandler, Oliver Fowler and Rudy McMillan round out the top dozen. This, believe it or not, is only about 2/3 of the grid though. We have an oversubscribed entry here at Brands Hatch, which is always nice to see, and it means we're back to the trusted group system. This is groups A and B. Group C will be up a little bit later on in the day. Everyone races twice though. Everyone races each other once, so you all get the same amount of track time and the same opportunity to score points. But it is Ian Jones and Stephen Daly, arguably the two championship protagonists, who line up on the front row together for this opening race of the season. On board with Aaron Morgan then. The red lights are on. They go out now, and the 2019 Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup is underway. It's a good start made by Mark Skeets from the outside of row number two. He will challenge the leading two down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. On board with Aaron Morgan as he's immediately embroiled in the midfield squabbles. But they round the first corner with Jones in front, side by side for second, Daly on the inside for Druids, Skeets to the outside. Mark Skeets remarkably did not get a podium result all year last year, and he's straight into the top three here in the early stages. With Alessandro Albano to the outside line at Druids. It's a case of trying to find a bit of clear track more than anything else here, with a 32-car grid for the opening race of the season. Jones leading the way though, lots of locking up down the hill on board with Aaron Morgan now as he tries to negotiate the left-hander on cold tyres, always difficult on the first lap of the race. But it looks as though everyone is, touch wood, safely around the first few corners, coming around to the completion now of the opening lap of the season. There's Lee Dendy Sadler, former front-running veteran of the BRSCC's Ford Fiesta Championship, making the switch to rear-wheel drive machinery this year. And he is ahead of his teammate Alan Caulfield, having started one position ahead of him. He's now 2 places ahead at the end of lap one. Back with Albano now, who flies over from Italy to race in the Compact Cup, showing his dedication to what is a thrilling championship. And it's no surprise to see why drivers come from far and wide to race in what is one of the most entertaining series in the UK. Already the battles are starting to develop though as we go up the hill. Alan Caulfield there making a move. He goes up the inside of someone going in towards Druids. Adam Reed, I think that was. Yes, it is Adam Reed, the 67 car, who's had a good start, but is now starting to slip backwards slightly. He will fend off though Ray McDowell in the number 4 car as they drop down the hill. Through the left-hander again at Graham Hill. Ben is all getting very close indeed, back with Aaron Morgan, the only driver in the field who uses hand controls to handle the car around the circuit. That must make life very, very busy indeed inside the cockpit, but he's been doing this for a number of years now, and he's getting quicker every time he hits the track. Good to see him well and truly in amongst the battles here in the early stages. Out of clearways we go then for the second time, and immediately Stephen Daly and Ian Jones have made a break here at the head of the field. Ian Jones having to go defensive to try and keep the two-time reigning champion Stephen Daly at bay. Remarkably, Stephen has won the last 5 BMW Compact Cup races to have been held here at Brands Hatch. He won both races here last year, both races in 2017, and won the final race in 2016. So he's fairly handy around the short Indy circuit. There's a big lock-up for someone there at Paddock Hill Bend. think they got away with it, but Stephen Daly, a man on a mission here to try and keep this winning run intact. But Ian Jones, who really does fancy himself as one of the championship contenders this year, he had a few issues mid-season last season, which meant that he finished outside the top 10 in points. But we know that he's quicker than that. We know that he's capable of winning races, just hasn't yet been able to piece together a solid, consistent championship charge. But he's starting off the 2019 season in the right way. If anything, gapping Stephen Daly a bit more towards the end of this third lap. Across the line they go then. Daly and Jones a class of their own at the moment in this race. Jones, though, needs to try and build up a gap, if at all possible, here from Stephen Daly. Ian Jones was 3 times a winner last year, 9 times on the podium, but just, as I said, had those issues mid-season which counted him out of the championship equation. Mark Skeets is arguably the busiest man on the grid, trying to keep David May behind him, but also, who else have we got in there? Paul Maguire, Tom Griffiths, and right at the back of that group I think it's Matt Parks, isn't it? So that's a 5-car train fighting for 3rd position. Because they're dicing away, they're losing time to the leading 2. Lots of white smoke coming out of the back of Stephen Daly's car. That was happening in qualifying as well, though. I don't think it's anything particularly to worry about, but Stephen Daly certainly seems to be going quickly. Let's just hope that there's no oil or anything being burnt off that he might need for later on in the race, but for the time being, he looks quick. He's sticking with Ian Jones, albeit not really quite close enough to attack this time, and a bit scrappy there for Daly. Remember, this is a new car for Stephen this year. He sold his old car, so he's trying to get used to a new machine, and someone spun there up at Clearways, and I think, unfortunately, has been collected. Yes, that's Oliver Fowler, who I think did the collecting in the 18 car. I didn't quite catch who the other one was. It may have been Stephen Chandler, possibly, who had spun in front of the pack, and if one or both of those cars can't get going again, we may have our first safety car intervention of the season. That would be a shame, though, because it will mean this battle needs to be put on ice. Oh, Martin Gadsby goes around now, and that is a very spectacular spin, and unfortunately, he has just nosed it into the gravel trap, and that means that he will also likely be stranded at the side of the racetrack now. So a lively half a lap or so of racing there in the midfield. Martin Gadsby was on for a decent result there, having qualified fairly well. 15th on the grid he was. Now there is, I think, Stephen Chandler's car. There's a lot of fluid on the track. The car does not appear to be going anywhere. And unfortunately, yes, it is Stephen Chandler. The 77 car is going no further. Now, if that's not a dangerous position, I don't know what is. So we may well have to have a safety car here, and that is a shame because the battles were just starting to heat up throughout the field, really. I don't think they ever cooled down in the midfield, but with at least 2, maybe 3 cars now parked at the side of the road, I think we are going to have, yes, our first safety car period of the day and of the season. Unfortunately there for Martin Gadsby, he did a brilliant job of saving the spin, but then just ran out of grass and tarmac and found his way into the gravel trap, and as you can see, he's perfectly okay. He's lost his rear bumper somewhere. Hopefully someone will pick that up for him between races. But Martin, who really does enjoy racing in the Compact Cup, as indeed do most of the drivers, if not all of them, but Martin really is enthusiastic about his racing, and that's a shame to see his first race of the season end in the kitty litter. So the safety car is out. It gives us a chance to take a bit of a deep breath, which is much needed for me, and I think for all of the drivers that are still out there. Back on board with Alessandro Albano here, and the number 11 car that started down in 21st. I think he has gained some ground from that position, but as you can see at the front of the field, that big gap that Jones and Daly had built up has now evaporated. Mark Skeets will be right back with them. Then David May with the homage to the Works BMW livery on his car. That is a very, very good looking number 93 machine. He started 3rd, he's lost 1 position. Here Mark Skeets swapped positions on the first lap, but Mark was very nearly in the lead of the race going into Paddock Hill Bend. Got off the line extremely well, did the Irishman. And Skeetsy, as he's affectionately known by the rest of the paddock, is in a podium position here early on. And I can't say enough about Paul Maguire. Paul is a former frontrunner in Mark 1 Mazda MX-5 racing, so he has success in his racing career, but this is his first ever appearance in the Compact Cup, and these are tricky little cars to get to grips with sometimes, particularly if you're used to the lightweight and nimble racing that you see in MX-5 championships around the country. These things are a little bit of a different beast. I've spoken to a few drivers who have raced both Mazda MX-5s and BMW Compact Cup cars, and honestly the main difference, the main challenge that a lot of them have noticed is the fact that you're now racing with a roof over your head, and whilst that's something that most of us take for granted, since most of us will drive with a roof over our head most on the roads every day, for these guys, if you've spent years and years racing an open cockpit car, it can sometimes be a little bit disconcerting to be sort of closed in a tin top, but clearly Paul Maguire not fazed by that, and is getting well, not even quicker and quicker, he started off very quickly. 5th place here in the early running, Tom Griffiths behind him. And then Matt Parks, who can blow a bit hot and cold sometimes, can't he, Matt? He had that breakthrough victory last year at Snetterton in that thrilling dice that he had with the eventual champion Stephen Daly. And we really thought at that early stage of the year that Parks was going to become a championship threat. But whilst he did end up finishing second in the championship, he was some 53 points adrift of Daly at the end of the year. Held on to his second place in the championship though from Tom Griffiths, and he and Tom really both proving that consistency is what can put you in the championship picture. You don't necessarily have to win every race, and particularly this season, if we continue to see this group format in use, which we expect to see throughout most of the year, then you're going to have lots of different winners. That stops one driver from dominating throughout the year, and potentially will make consistent point scoring all the more significant. So watch for Matt Parks' progress, on the restart. There is Matt, the 38 car, just ahead of lead Andy Sadler, the first of the white and purple cars, and immediately behind him is Alan Caulfield, who's having one of his best runs for quite some time. Alan Caulfield, again, a bit of a veteran of the championship now. He's been around for quite a few seasons, and both of those cars looking resplendent. They're right together on the track as well, so it's a great photo opportunity for those on the pit wall and around the circuit. Caught a glimpse of Oliver Faller's car there in the pit lane. Oliver, number 18 car, started just outside the top 10, but unfortunately that contact with Clearways has put paid to any chance of a top 10 finish in this first race of the season. So the light's still on the BMW safety car. The field of BMW Compact Cup cars filing in behind. You can see the reason for this fairly lengthy delay, because not only did the cars need to be moved, indeed that process is still ongoing, but there was a lot of fluid, a lot of debris, a lot of dirt that had been scattered across the racing line up there at Clearways, which also needs to be swept away. So unfortunately this is going to take another lap or so, I think, to get everything cleared up. I mentioned that this was a group system, and that means that we haven't got all of our potential front runners out on track right now. Race 2, which is coming up a bit later, will have the likes of Ben Huntley, Wayne Flint, Keith Towers, Mike Doble, so a lot more potential front runners, not only in the races but in the championship, have still yet to race today. So the points scored by the likes of Jones and Daly and Skeets in this race will be significant, but they could be matched potentially by those that are coming up in the later race, because you score the same amount of points for a victory regardless which race you're in. So it's 50 points for a win plus 1 for the fastest lap, and that fastest lap at the moment belongs to Ian Jones, and Ian Jones a 57.7. His way back towards Paddock Hill Bend, Daly going with him, but so too on this occasion is Mark Skeets. He's built a bit of a gap now over David May, who is the man doing all of the defending into Paddock Hill Bend this time. There is David May in 4th position, a little way back, but leading two resuming their battle from before the safety car, with Jones in front, Daly in 2nd position. Jones and Daly were actually... is there an issue there for Paul Maguire? I think there is, and there are cars off further back. Oh, that's Alan Caulfield, one of them, and I fear the other one on its side is lead Andy Sadler, and Ray McDowell is off as well. So what on earth has happened there on the restart? Oh dear, boys, we waited all that time to go racing again. We get into the first corner, and there is another incident, and unfortunately, well, we made the comment earlier on that lead Andy Sadler and Alan Caulfield were running together, and I worry whether or not they made contact there going into Paddock Hill Bend. Ray McDowell, though, was some way further back, so quite how he got involved in all of that, I do not know. Anyway, the race is continuing for the time being. There will be yellow flags out at Paddock Hill Bend. I'm hoping against hope that we don't need another safety car, but it may well be the case that the safety car is scrambled once again. Across the line we go, though, and it is Jones onto the final lap of the race anyway, so I think they're going to cover it under yellow flags for the time being. Jones leading the way. Daly throws it through Paddock Hill Bend. You may not be able to overtake through the yellow flag zone, but you've still got to keep some sort of speed up. You are supposed to reduce your speed a little bit for the safety of the drivers and marshals who are dealing with the cleanup of the incident. But Daly not really able to stay with Jones anyway. Jones the leader down the hill. Daly second. Skeets has dropped back now in 3rd. I don't think we're likely to see a change for the top 3 positions here in the final half a lap or so. And Ian Jones looks as though he's on his way to the opening victory of the season, and he's going to end this 5-race winning streak here at Brands Hatch for Stephen Daly. And Stephen will be looking to fight back in the race a little bit later on, but up through Clearways we go, over the cement dust that was laid down after the incident there that brought out the safety car in the first place, and towards the checkered flag will go our first race winner of 2019. It is Ian Jones who flashes the headlights and wins race number 1 here at Brands Hatch. Stephen Daly comes home in second place. He'll still be happy with those points. Skeets in third, David May fourth, then Tom Griffiths in fifth, Matt Parks, Gordon McMillan, Mikey Doble, Rudy McMillan and Adam Reed in 10th. Those drivers all gaining from the fact that we lost 2 of our top 10 drivers at the start of the penultimate lap of the race. Aaron Morgan, look at that, 11th place for the Allied Mobility sponsored car. Great result for him, ahead of Nick Edmond, Andy Coombs, Tim Scott Andrews and Phil Sharp to round out the top 15. A few non-finishers, unfortunately. Paul Maguire we saw slowing after the restart. Don't know what the issue was there. Lead Andy Sadler, Alan Caulfield and Ray McDowell ended their race in the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap. David Sharp was also a non-finisher. And of course Stephen Chandler and Oliver Fowler involved in the safety car inducing incident a little bit earlier on.
Ian, what a way to start a season.
Perfect. Couldn't ask for any more. Pole, then the win. Shame about the safety car, because I think me and Stephen could have had a good battle, and that's what we're here for, really. But yeah, good start.
Stephen, you've come second. Are you happy?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be delighted with second in the first round. I mean, it's not all about winning in the first round. I mean, I'd love to have won, but I know what Ian's capable of, and I know what not to do with Ian. So it's a case of just, I knew after lap 2 it wasn't going to work. I knew he had the legs on me, so it was just settle for where I am, take the points, and let's go on to the next round.
Fantastic race. I mean, I'm chuffed to bits, I have to say. I had a great start. I had a little bit of a rub with Stephen, but as soon as those guys got away, they were gone. But yeah, you know, I'm like 53 this year. I'm chuffed to bits to be keeping up with these youngsters, to be honest with you. So it's yeah, next race coming up. I'm in that next race, so just got to go and try and do one better.
It's race 2 here for the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup, and I'm just having a quick catch up with Stephen Daly here. Now, Stephen, you've got one of your nemesis from last year, Ben, starting right behind you.
Yeah, well, we've not got Ian Jones to deal with in this one, so we're quite happy with that. Ian's got a serious pace this weekend, but I hope he does do well in his second race. Ben Huntley, yeah, Ben's fast. Just see how it goes, really. Me and Ben are good friends, and we race hard with each other, so we'll just have to see how it goes.
So you're feeling a little bit of pressure? Not a lot, just a little.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the new car, I'm taking my time to get into it. I mean, it's not exactly the same as my old car. They've got different suspension, so we're all kind of on a level playing field this year. But you know, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Well, wish you the best of luck. So we're going to hand it straight over to Andy to run you through all the action.
Thanks, Lindsay. Groups B and C up this time, so Group B with their second race of the day, Group C making their first appearance. Stephen Daly on pole this time with Ben Huntley alongside him. Mark Skeets and Wayne Flint make up row 2 with Tom Griffiths and Mike Doble on the third row. Alan Caulfield and Keith Towers are next ahead of Stephen Chandler and Luke Browse. Hopefully Stephen's got his car fixed after race 1. Rudy McMillan and David Chapman round out the top dozen with Mikey Doble and Matt Flowers next in line. Then Aaron Morgan, Tom Langford, Ray McDowell and Will Davison, who has BMW racing experience in the past but not in this championship. Then Nick Edmond and Jim Barrett to round out the top 20. So for the likes of Stephen Daly, Mark Skeets and Tom Griffiths, this is their final race of the day. But for Ben Huntley, Wayne Flint, Mike Doble, basically all of the even starting positions, they are Group C, and this is their first of 2 races today, and they will then go head-to-head with the Group A cars that we saw in race 1 a little bit later on in the day. So this is Stephen Daly's last chance to get a race victory. There was a brief on-board look with David Chapman, a few on-boards throughout the field in this race that we'll catch up with once we get going, which happens any second now, hopefully, when the red lights go out. There they go, we're away and racing for race number 2 of the day at Brands Hatch. And who is going to get into Paddock Hill Bend first? We'll start by Chapman further back, and Mikey Doble also making ground up the inside line there. 3 and 4 abreast already. Tom Langford there with a bit of contact, I think, from Matt Flowers. On board with Tom, looking across towards the driver's position. He turns through Paddock Hill Bend. David Chapman, the yellow car, in front of us as they make their way up the hill into Druids Corner for the first time of asking, hard on the brakes, trying to find that gap in the traffic to pick your way through. David Chapman fighting the wheel there as he comes through Druids. He's up the inside of, I think that is Stephen Chandler, isn't it? Yes, who has got the car fixed. Bit of a lock-up there for Chapman, but he will go through. And Stephen Chandler losing a position. David Chapman, former front-runner in the Mazda X5 Super Cup. He also raced here in the Compact Cup last season, but didn't quite make it into the top 10. So he'll be certainly setting that as his target here early on in the weekend. Keith Towers is his next target. We're on board with Keith, who does not see a yellow car firing up the inside, so clearly David backed out of that move. In fact, Keith Towers making a move all of his own. He's up the inside of Alan Caulfield now. He's got the car cleared of gravel after his race 1 excursion. Battle for second is on there. Wayne Flint, look at this, a rejuvenated Wayne Flint. He's already the lead Masters contender in this race, and he was giving Ben Huntley the bump draft down the pit straight. Ben, one of the younger drivers in the series, getting quicker and quicker though all the time, and Mark Skeets getting more and more sideways as he went through, not Mark Skeets, Wayne Flint getting more and more sideways through Paddock Hill Bend. And in fact, there's a problem problem for Wayne Flint. The car is slowing, and I fear his race may be done just as he was starting to show some real promise there. With Aaron Morgan, Ray McDowell filling his wing mirrors, but where is Wayne Flint? No, he's still there, but he's certainly dropped back now, hasn't he, into the clutches of Mike Doble. Maybe just couldn't get a gear there in that brief moment. He got all sideways, and as he was all arms and elbows, maybe couldn't quite get the car into gear, so he seems to have picked up the speed again now. David Chapman hammering the curb through Surtees. As behind him, the battle rages between Mikey Doble, that's Doble Jr., and the walking wounded Stephen Chandler. The car may not look pretty, but it is at least moving, and the wheels all seem to be pointing vaguely in the right direction, so good work from the team there. It was a quick turnaround between races, and they've got the car out there in more or less one piece and going pretty quickly. Side-by-side battle here towards Paddock Hill Bend once again, and round the outside. That was a really nice move there made by Mark Skeets, and he will pick up a position. He started third though, so he's lost quite a bit of ground. That's why I paused for a moment there, because Skeets was a bit further down the order than I thought he'd be. Started third, he was actually the top master on the grid, but Wayne Flint, who started alongside him, is now right in front of him. So that's the fight for the Masters lead for those more experienced in age who race in the championship, and it's very hotly contested, and often the top Masters drivers are inside the top 3 or 5 positions in each race anyway, so it's not that difficult to keep track of them. It's something we will aim to do as the year goes on. Checking back in with the Alan Caulfield and Keith Towers battle as they turn into clearways. You can see the ding in the driver's side door there for Caulfield, which is, we presume, a legacy of the accident in race number 1. Back with Chapman though. It's a circuit that he's got lots of experience at. Says he really loves driving here at Brands Hatch, and as I say, he's going an awful lot more quickly this year than he did 12 months ago. Keith Towers in front of him though, making a move on the inside of Alan Caulfield. Caulfield leaves him plenty of room. Maybe a bit too much room actually, runs out almost into the gravel trap and tried to avoid contact there. Understand why though, after the contact he had there in race number 1, but Towers is up the inside to Druid, and I think he's going to go through. Will he, or will Caulfield hang tough on the outside? No, he won't, so Towers will go through. In fact, no, Caulfield is back up the inside, and now finally gives second best to Keith Towers. So Towers up a position, Caulfield a bit slow off Graham Hill Bend as a result, and so now David Chapman sees the opportunity, dives to the inside towards Surtees. Is he late enough on the brakes? If you even do brake into Surtees, well, they run through side by side. It was probably more of a lift on the throttle in normal circumstances through that left-hander. Maybe a dab on the brakes that time because they were side by side. Either way, Chapman does not go through, and that will disappoint him because he can see Keith Towers escaping up the road now. Up through the gears in the slipstream, trying to get the run to Paddock Hill Bend, but not really close enough, I don't think, to attack on this occasion is David Chapman. But David in the car that traditionally is raced by Phil Adcock, and you may remember that car because 12 months ago it ended its qualifying session, its first qualifying session of the season, on its roof in that gravel trap there to the right at Paddock Hill Bend on the outlap from qualifying. And Phil Adcock, he has a good laugh about it these days, but I'm sure at the time wasn't particularly pleased with the way that his season started, but he is very happy to see that car up towards the sharp end of the grid here this weekend at Brands Hatch. He'll be back in the car, we believe, at Alton Park with Phil, just having a weekend on the sidelines here at Brands Hatch and enjoying seeing his car going quickly. There's the 17 car, Will Davison, former production BMW champion, so he's used to racing these sort of cars, but not a BMW compact in the past. He's started this race down in 18th place, saw there's a car in the gravel trap there, didn't quite catch the number as they came through clearways. Now that might result in a safety car possibly. The car is quite close to the edge of the circuit. David Chapman will be hoping not, because he's starting to size up Alan Caulfield, but also has Stephen Chandler not far behind him. Stephen refuses to say die this weekend. Mikey Doble also in the mix as the field strings its way through Paddock Hill Bend. Chapman actually really is starting to feel the pressure now from Stephen Chandler, who forces the yellow and green number 19 machine to defend the inside line, and Chapman trying to attack and defend here, which is always a difficult position to be in. If he can get past Caulfield quickly, then he might be able to escape the road. I would suggest he probably can. He's good off Graham Hill Bend, is Chapman, carries some good speed along the Cooper Straight, but it's not really a long enough straight for him to take full advantage of that. And of course there are yellow flags out at the next corner, clearways, which is the next obvious overtaking point on the circuit. Chapman with a wide line in. Oh, it's Luke Browse. Luke Browse has gone off in the 84 car. So no sign of a safety car just yet, though. They're leaving the corner under yellow flags with Tom Langford as he races his way across the start-finish line. This little group of 4 providing some really good entertainment. They're all very close together. Through Paddock Hill Bend they will go once more, and Chapman again having to defend there from Chandler, and that means that since he goes in on such a tight line through Paddock Hill Bend. He's a bit slow on the exit, and so Chandler may have had the opportunity to dive up the inside at Druids, but Chapman, showing his circuit knowledge, knows exactly where to defend and how to do it successfully, and just stops the car on the apex at Druids. But this is really holding him and that entire group up. Chandler having a look at the inside, has a big dive up the inside at Graham Hill Bend, and Chapman thankfully saw him coming, left him lots of room. He's on the grass though as they race wheel to wheel down the straight, almost a bit of contact as they head towards Surtees, and Chapman I think he's going to have to give 2 places up. Yes he is, look, Chandler goes through. In the end though, the positions stay as they were, so Tobel at the head of the train of cars. This is for 8th position, so Tobel is 8th, Chandler is 9th, Chapman is 10th, and Alan Caulfield, poor Alan Caulfield, well, got booked on the last few laps. He is down outside the top 10 now. Not turned into a brilliant afternoon so far for Alan Caulfield. Let's see whether or not that improves throughout the rest of this, his final race of the day. With Tom Langford now, you can see how much closer he is to Chapman and Caulfield in front. Up the hill, braking just at the end of the pit lane there, over the hump in the road, very easy to unsettle the rear of the car, but some drivers use that hump in the road to actually get the car a bit sideways. You have to drive these cars sometimes intentionally sideways to get them to go around the corner. Meanwhile, across the start-finish line, that is a battle going on a bit further down the order. That's Rhys Claydon, and getting very, very intimate indeed with the 164 car of Thomas Middleton. What did I say about the fighting being close up and down the order? These two started outside the top 20, Middleton 24th and Claydon 25th, and they are still banging wing mirrors as they head towards Paddock Hill Bend. But that is a familiar looking car of Rhys Claydon. That is of course the car that took Stephen Daly to 2 championships in the last 2 years. And it's Rhys Claydon now making his first forays into motorsport. You can see the novice cross on the back of his white and orange 666 car. Rhys Claydon, I'm sure, with the KC Motorsport squad behind him, will improve that speed as the year goes on. And it won't be long before we're talking about Rhys inside the top 10 or 15 cars, I think, in the field. He's definitely got potential. And as I said, Stephen Daly and the KC Motorsport squad know what they're doing. They will know how to tune the car up. That car we know has winning pedigree. And it's just a case of getting Rhys a little bit closer to the pace now throughout the rest of the 2019 season. Just in front of them, in fact, is John Attard in the other KC Motorsport car. KC Motorsport very busy in 2018. There is John, former Ford Puma racer as well. In fact, I'd say they're catching John slightly here. John did start behind them on the grid. It looks as though he might just be about to lose a couple of more positions before the end of the race, but great squabbles wherever you look, and this is why you really need to come and watch these races trackside to fully appreciate the level of excitement throughout the field. I do urge you to get yourself to a Compact Cup race meeting near you at some point this year. They're well worth the visit. There is Stephen Daly though, and Stephen Daly has had a much easier time of it in his second race of the day. He is over 4 seconds clear now of Ben Huntley, who has been setting decent lap times though. And his fastest lap is only a couple of tenths slower than Daly's, but Daly seems to have got better at Ben in this race. But Ben will be back out again in race 3 later on to try and get his first victory of the year potentially. He'll have to go up against Ian Jones to do it though, as the smoky Stephen Daly goes past 3 cars now in the gravel and clearways. So I don't know what's been going on at clearways, but it's been the action spot in both of the first 2 races today. 3 cars stuck at the side of the road now. Stephen Daly though goes through the yellow flag zone unimpeded. Now we're back with Tom Langford, and I think that's David Chapman in front of us, which means that I think Langford's got past Alan Caulfield somewhere, because Alan was the man directly in front of him. Oh, and that's Alan Caulfield. That is Alan Caulfield, and he's tangled up with, is that Will Davidson? Couldn't quite see who that was that he's, yes, I think it is the 17 car, Will Davison, who, that looks like a fairly substantial shunt, and unfortunately it's Alan's second one of the day. And I just mentioned that he'd lost a position. He clearly lost some more, because he and Davison were several positions apart. Either way, that is not the way they wanted their race to finish. I think Gordon McMillan may have been involved in that as well. So a 3-car incident at Surtees. That means there are now potentially 6 cars off the road in that final sector. So we may well see a safety car come out, or since we're near the end of the race anyway, maybe a premature checkered flag. That's a shame, because we've seen some great racing. We didn't want it to be interrupted by late race safety cars, but it's a bit of a BMW graveyard now at the end of the lap, and indeed Stephen Daly is going on to the last lap anyway, so they will probably elect to keep it under yellow flags, but that means absolutely no overtaking now at the end of the lap. Not that that will concern Stephen Daly. The only cars that he has to overtake are lapped cars, which are dutifully staying out of his way by the looks of it. Up the hill into Druids he goes, and yet the back markers really staying out of his way, and indeed each other's way through the right-hander. Stephen Daly looking for his first win of the year, his 6th win here at Brands Hatch in the last 3 visits. It's not quite going to be the double for the 3rd year on the bounce, with Ian Jones denying him the victory in race 1. With Ian Jones not in this race, Stephen Daly's life made a little bit easier, as he alluded to in the pre-race interview with Lindsay. But I do think that the likes of Ben Huntley are going to be a bit of a thorn in Stephen's side this year. Ben in 2nd place here, that's some solid points for him, and he is definitely going to be targeting the championship. They will all, though, have to beat this man, Stephen Daly, who crosses the line to take his first victory of 2019, and the double reigning champion will be right in the hunt for the championship lead, leaving Brands Hatch. Ben Huntley is 2nd, Tom Griffiths is 3rd, Mark Skeets in 4th position wins the Masters with Wayne Flynn 5th, then Keith Towers, Mike and Mikey Doble 7th and 8th, with Stephen Chandler 9th, and David Chapman getting his first ever top 10 in the championship with 10th place. Tom Langford, Ray McDowell, Matt Flowers, Aaron Morgan and Jim Barrett next up. We'll see Aaron Morgan in the top 15 in both races, ahead of Simon Welch and the rest filing in behind. We lost, unfortunately, quite a few. Mike Bayliss, Alan Caulfield, Gordon McMillan, Will Davison, Luke Browse, Rudy McMillan, Nick Edmond and James Stanbury. That's not even the end of the list, because Andy Coombs was excluded from the result, so he's also not classified as a finisher.
Well, you said you wanted a 1 and 2 and you've managed to achieve it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. Massive credit to the KC Motorsport guys. The car's absolutely fantastic. It was a lot better in race 2 there. We'd loved the race with Ian Jones. Ian Jones gets his crack at the next race, so wish him the very best of luck. He can walk away from this weekend with the championship lead. So, I mean, that's what the championship is all about, is keeping it close all year, and that's what's going to happen. That's what it's looking like.
Ben, you must be extremely happy with that result.
Yeah, I am. I mean, Brands Hatch isn't really my strong circuit, so to come away with a solid podium and a good haul of points for the first round, I'm over the moon, to be honest.
That was a good result for you.
Yeah, especially at this place. This time last year we came away with a 9th and a DNF, so to come away here with 5th and 3rd, I'm ecstatic with.
The 3rd and final race of the day about to get underway then here at Brands Hatch, and it is going to be Ben Huntley who lines up on pole for this one with Ian Jones alongside. This is Ian Jones's chance potentially to take the championship lead away from Stephen Daly. Daly has had a 1st and a 2nd in his 2 races. He's not in this race though, so Ian Jones, who won his earlier race, if he can win this one, he will be ahead in the points. But he does not start on pole position. Ben Huntley, who was runner-up in his previous race, will have that honour. If he wins the race, we'll have a 3-way tie potentially for the championship lead. So it's all very close in the early stages. Huntley and Jones row 1, with Wayne Flint and David May set to do battle for the Masters on row 2. Mike Doble and Paul Maguire, hopefully with his issues from race 1 sorted, they're on row 3, ahead of Keith Towers and lead Andy Sadler. Luke Browse, Matt Parks, David Chapman out again in this one on row 6 with Oliver Fowler. Then Matt Flowers and Adam Reed, Tom Langford and Martin Gadsby, with hopefully a rear bumper attached now. Then Will Davison and David Sharp. Jim Barrett, Tim Scott Andrews are next. They round out the top 20, ahead of Simon Welch and Alessandro Albano. Thomas Middleton and Brendan Murphy are on the 12th row together, ahead of John King and Phil Sharp. Adrian Pace, Saranga Sothisrari, then James Stanbury and John Williams round out the top 30, with Craig Arkell at the back of the field. So this has been a busy old day of racing. Now there are a couple of gaps I notice on the grid. I don't think lead Andy Sadler is there, and possibly Paul Maguire. Yeah, Paul Maguire's not there either. So Maguire and Andy Sadler have not got their issues sorted from earlier on. The rest of them are away and racing though, as the lights go out for the final time at Brands Hatch. We'll start from Tom Langford in the middle of the field. David Chapman decisively chops over to the inside line as they drop into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. 3 and 4 abreast, further back, that won't work, boys. You'll have to sort that one out. There's contact, in fact, for the race lead. Look at Ben Huntley up the inside of Ian Jones. There was definitely paint traded as they came out of Paddock Hill Bend, and Huntley defending the race lead for all he's worth here. Ian Jones trying to go round the outside. This is a really significant battle, and Jones has got the inside line down towards Graham Hill Bend, and I think he's going to go through. So Ben Huntley, who had the chance from pole position there to control the pace of the race, but he hasn't stayed in front for long, and Ian Jones has found his way past, on board with Simon Welch, who's in for a busy race, I think, in the midfield, as is ever the case. And Simon, the 76 car, winds his way down the Cooper Straight for the first time. Dave Chapman in behind Mikey Doble, side by side battling further back. That is Phil Sharp, David Sharp, excuse me, number 40 car, the purple and orange car on the outside line there. And who's that he's doing battle with? Didn't quite catch. I think it might well have been Jim Barrett, possibly. Or Tim Scott Andrews, one of the two that he was side by side with. Anyway, up towards Paddock Hill Bend we go at the start of the second lap of the race. Still side by side battles right the way through the field. It's Jones that leads the way. It's Huntley second, David May in third. So David May has got himself ahead of Wayne Flint. That's for the lead of the Masters category, but Wayne there, the 55 car, is right on his tail. So that's also going to be a race-long battle, I think. And they're both getting a bit boxed in here behind Ben Huntley in second place, who at the moment cannot live with the pace of Ian Jones. But no one has been able to live with the pace of Ian Jones. In qualifying, he was a quarter of a second quicker than anybody else in the qualifying session, and it was Ben Huntley who set the second fastest qualifying time. And Ian was actually some 3/10 quicker than Stephen Daly, so really strong speed this weekend from Ian Jones, who's quite a character and a quick driver as well with it. There's Matt Parks. This is a bit more like it for Matt. He's in 5th place now with Keith Towers behind him in 6th as they come out towards the completion of lap number 2, and it's a 5-car train really for 2nd place. Then it's Mikey Doble and David Chapman with Tom Langford behind and everybody else filing in as well. There is the battling behind between David Sharp and the rest of the field. And it's Luke Browse, excuse me, 84 was the car that he was side by side with earlier on. Luke Browse, who started this one in 9th place. The hill goes the Masters lead battle then, the white, red and blue car with the orange wheels. That's David May, the Masters leader. And right behind him is Wayne Flint. David May was the Masters champion last year as well. He beat Mark Skeets and Keith Towers to that honour by quite a few points actually in the end. 504 points for May, 470 for Mark Skeets, so 34 points the advantage at the end of the year for May. He's only one position though ahead of Mark Skeets in this race. And of course, sorry, not Mark Skeets, Wayne Flint, excuse me. Skeets won the first Masters race and the second as well, so there's no doubt about it. Skeets will be the Masters leader in the championship, leaving Brands Hatch. The question is who's going to be second at the early stages of the championship. Just the 3 cars fighting for second place now. Huntley, May and Flint have rather gapped Matt Parks behind. Matt Parks has still got Keith Towers with his headlights ablaze. And Mike Doble and David Chapman and the rest side by side there a little bit further back. Adam Reed there I think was trying to go around the outside of somebody into Paddock Hill Bend. That rarely works though. Druids again. David May sandwiched between Huntley and Flint, and Huntley seems to get away from them through the second half of the lap, maybe a little bit weak in the first half of the lap, and that's where May is able to close right onto the rear bumper of the 96 car through a very quick left-hander at Surtees, fastest corner on the circuit, and some debate as to whether it's 3rd or 4th gear. I think 3rd gear is probably the preferred gear through there, almost on the rev limiter though, as you hop over the curb and then slam it down the gears again into clearways, and Clark Curve back out to the completion of another lap. On board with Tom Langford. In front of us is Mikey Doble, not David Chapman, because David Chapman has gone through, so Chapman has got himself ahead of Doble, but Doble is trying to come back at him as they come down the straight, but he doesn't dare go to the outside line because Tom Langford will be straight up the inside of him, so the 3 of them descend upon Paddock Hill Bend pretty much as one, but Chapman has gone through. Can Mikey Doble fight back, or is Langford going to be applying the pressure to him instead? Well, Chapman is defending just in case into Druids. Mike Doble, excuse me, Doble Senior isn't in this race, is not going to get through. So Chapman now needs to get his head down and show the pace that there's no doubt he's got. David Sharp having a look at the inside of Luke Browse, but just a touch too far back. Brands Hatch have added some new tarmac runoff areas, one there at the end of the exit of Graham Hill Bend, and one also on the exit of Druids, which the drivers are taking full advantage of. But you will still be caught out for exceeding track limits if you keep doing that. So they've just replaced the grasscrete with some tarmac runoff area to try and prevent cars from losing too much grip if they run wide. That won't stop the clerk of the course penalising them though if they do exceed the track limits once too often. So across the line goes Chapman. You can see he's getting away now from Mike Doble and Tom Langford behind. Langford though seems to have some decent pace in this race, and we'll be looking to try and get past Doble as quickly as possible to go after Chapman. But this group of 5 or 6 cars now just making their way through Paddock Hill Bend. What a sight they make as they run right out to the edge of the curbing. And I'm going to make a move into Druids. A few people attempting it, but no, there's no way through. And Luke Browse is now still ahead of David Sharp. I thought he'd lost a position there, but Sharp is still behind him. As they head down the hill, Matt Flowers is the white and blue number 3 car who's trying desperately to become a part of this fight. As they head towards Surtees, Chapman getting away now from the big gaggle of cars behind. Tom Langford, I think, the one that's most likely to make a move here, and he's starting to force a few little mistakes out of Mike Doble. Doble just misses the apex fractionally there at clearway. He's on board with Langford as he very aggressively goes up through the gears across the start-finish line. Now, you don't get a huge slipstream effect from these cars, but it is certainly there, and that will be aiding his slipstream, his top speed down the pit straight. And Doble knows it, so he moves over to the middle ground to defend, but that means he might wash a bit wide on the exit. Langford clips the curb though, and that means that he too has to correct the slide, and in the end there's no change, or is there? He sees a gap up the inside line, and Langford is going to go for it, but round the outside, look, oh dear, goes Oliver Fowler, and there may have been a bit of contact there. We've got the 67 car of Adam Reed also trying to join in. Langford goes through, but amazingly no other positions change, so Langford gains a place, Doble loses one, but he very nearly lost 2 or 3 there. Oliver Fowler, I think, got into the back of him, and that's what allowed Langford to actually complete the pass. Thomas should now be able to pull away, but can Oliver Fowler get through? Oliver Fowler right on the limit through Surtees, goes to the inside line, and yes, I think he's going to go through, so Oliver Fowler picks up a place, and this could open the floodgates here, although Adam Reed himself runs a bit wide. David Sharp is up the inside of Luke Browse. It is all going on in that fight just at the back end of the top 10, on board with Simon Welch, who's a few positions further back. We are still side by side, and yes, David Sharp up the inside now of Luke Browse, should be able to complete the manoeuvre into paddock, although Browse was late on the brakes. Now the purple car goes through, so David Sharp gaining 1 place. So what's happened there? Langford's gained a position, so too has Oliver Fowler. Doble's lost 2, and then at the back of the group there has now finally been the change between Browse and Sharp, and Oliver Fowler is very wide and very sideways, and that could allow Mike Doble to go straight back through. They're side by side down the hill. Inside line is held by Fowler. Doble on the outside, he can't execute the switchback manoeuvre because Adam Reed is up the inside of him. There's a back marker as well, as if this wasn't spicy enough, and I think that's going to box Doble in. Yes, so Reed goes through, and David Sharp tries to take advantage as well. Mike Doble has to be careful here. He could lose 3 or 4 positions in one fell swoop. He's limiting the damage, sort of, in that only 1 more car has gone through, but a race that was looking fairly promising for Doble a few minutes ago is now slowly starting to unravel. David Sharp and Matt Flowers behind him now, so Flowers has somewhere got past Luke Browse as well. It's all going on, isn't it, in this group of cars that have been very close since the start of the race, and they're now really starting to get to it as we move into the second half of the final race of the day here at Brands Hatch. And it does seem that Mike Doble is somewhat the cork in the bottle. David Sharp now going up the inside at Druids and should be able to execute this one, although Doble squeezes him onto the grass as they turn into the corner. And of course Doble, if he goes right around the outside at Druids, will have the inside line at Graham Hill Bend, and he will use that to try and hold on to the position. Can Matt Flowers take advantage of this as well? He's going to try and get up the inside of David Sharp. He will get up the inside of David Sharp and has the inside for the next corner as well. It's a brave man that will run round the outside at Surtees, and David Sharp sensibly, I think, backs out of it. And good news, he's got his old sparring partner from earlier in the race, Luke Browse, right behind him again, or has he? Because Sharp is actually back on the inside of Flowers. The position's changing and rechanging quicker than almost than you can keep up with them. There's another car diving into the pit lane just in front of them, I noticed, as we're back on board with Simon Welch, who takes a very tight line out of clearways. And the 76 car involved in quite a tussle here, a little bit further down the order, 45 I think that is, isn't it, that's leading that group of cars. That's Brendan Murphy, the silver machine, packed with the fight of the race, really. This has been the best race we've got anywhere in the field right now, and it's still not settled. Simon Welch, though, heads up the hill. Number 15 in that little group as well is Jim Barrett. Simon Welch, the black and green car, just at the tail end of the group. Another new livery on that car. He does like to shake things up over the winter, does Simon, and always comes back with pristinely prepared cars. And, excuse me, Simon, the black car with the purple wheels, excuse me. I thought that was a very different livery on his car for a moment. Yes, the trademark purple Simon Welch wheels still in place. Green headlights, he turns through the left-hander. It's the 164 car behind him, which is Thomas Middleton, who we saw battling away in the previous race with Rhys Claydon. He, in the Sebro liveried machine, is keeping a watching brief on that trio of cars just in front. It's getting quite close, actually, between Jim Barrett and the 45 machine of Brendan Murphy, and in fact Barrett having a look at the inside at paddock, can't get through. Simon Welch. Now they're holding each other up, and look at the extra speed that Simon can take through Paddock Hill Bend. Barrett is now up the inside at Druids, and I think he's going to go through, and Simon Welch is surely going to try and follow him, but Brendan Murphy had other ideas, chops across, and somehow that took some doing, trying to thread the needle there and find a gap back in line, but he did manage to, and so only the one place lost. Back with Oliver Fowler, who seems to be sideways every time we see him. Very spectacular to watch indeed. He's got Adam Reed behind him now in the 67 machine. Another one of the sort of worked BMW-inspired liveries, which are very popular, understandably, in this one-make BMW Championship. Back with the race leader, though, we haven't seen much of Ian Jones in this race. In race one, he was hounded by Stephen Daly all the way through, but in this one, not the case. And as he drops down the hill now into Graham Hill Bend, he's looking good for a second win of the year. That was Craig Arkell going a lap down. Double race victory here potentially for Ian Jones. Now Ian, as I said, won his first race as well, so if things finish as they are now, he will take the championship lead by something like 1 or 2 points, leaving Brands Hatch. He also set the fastest lap in his first race, and unsurprisingly holds the fastest lap in this one as well, so it's going to be a maximum points haul for Ian Jones. That is not to be sniffed at here at the first round of the season. Across the start-finish line he goes. Ben Huntley, though, keeping a watching brief, flashing the lights there for Ian Jones. He's not celebrating the victory just yet. There is traffic in front of him that he's trying to warn of his presence. Back with Simon Welch. Now, Brendan Murphy is the silver car still in front of us. And are they starting to be dropped a little bit now, potentially by Jim Barrett? No, Barrett, I think, is still not far in front of them, so this is very much still a three-way fight as they go through clearways, and they're fighting for about 16th or 17th position here, so inside the top 20, still well worth fighting for though. And, if you go and have a word with the drivers after the races, often the most excitable drivers are the ones that were running outside of the top 10 because they get involved in these sort of battles. Oh, Simon Welch is off though, he's off, oh, and he's over! Simon Welch with a big accident into Paddock Hill Bend. Well, that was a lot more excitable than we wanted it to be, and I'm sure Simon Welch feels the same. What on earth happened there? Must have been contact. Surely the car suddenly just veered left and rolled in the gravel trap, and I think up against the barrier. So that was a very sizable shunt there for Simon Welch. Hopefully he is okay. Ian Jones is about to come past the scene of the accident, and well, what an accident it was. The car thankfully has righted itself. It's back on all 4 wheels, but that will have left Simon Welch rather shaken, I'm sure. Ian Jones, though, the race leader, negotiates the treble 5 car of John Williams. The red machine stays dutifully out of the way. Sideways there, though, is Ian Jones. And Huntley, with his lights ablaze in the background, still running in a fairly comfortable second position, with David May still your Masters leader in third, but with Wayne Flint still right on his tail. So that race has been raging all the way through, but with no change of the position since the first lap. It's John King going through there, the number 35 car, Fun Cup racer. He was part of a 4-hour endurance race here at Brands Hatch the day before in the opening round of the Fun Cup Championship, and now taking his hand for the first time at the wheel of the Fun Bikes car in the BMW Compact Cup. Ian Jones then comes across the start-finish line onto another lap. The checkered flag is not yet out. More with Keith Towers here. David Chapman, excuse me, chasing down Keith Towers. And in fact, he is with Keith Towers. No, hang on, that's not supposed to happen. The gear stick has come off in his hand. I very rarely see that. David Chapman, well, is he going to be able to finish with that? I don't know. There was some of the gear stick left. It was just the top of the gear knob that came off. And David Chapman, who was catching Keith Towers fairly rapidly there towards the end of the race, he was in 7th place and could potentially win on for a top 5 or 6, but more than likely not now. So a really dramatic end to the race here for quite a few drivers up and down the order. Ian Jones will just be glad to see the checkered flag, I think, at this rate. We are on the final lap of the race now. He's lapped John King successfully. There are no more back markers for Ian Jones to have to negotiate. Ben Huntley is closing in here in the final lap or so. There is Ben, diving up the inside of John King himself, and he's not going to be able to get through to the tail of Ian Jones' car, at least. Ian is going to come through, though, and see the checkered flag for the second time today at Brands Hatch. Ian Jones is a winner in the BMW Compact Cup, and he will take the early championship lead. Ben Huntley takes another solid second place finish, 1.7 seconds back at the flag, with David May third, Wayne Flint fourth, Matt Parks fifth, and Keith Towers sixth. Tom Langford was 7th, Oliver Fowler 8th, Adam Reed 9th, and Matt Flowers rounding out the top 10. So it doesn't look David Chapman did make it to the flag. Mike Doble, Luke Browse, David Sharp, Alessandro Albano in the top 15 ahead of Martin Gadsby, who recovers well from his race 1 non-finish. Then Jim Barrett, Brendan Murphy, and the rest filing in behind. The list of retirements, yes, look at that. David Chapman is not going to make it to the flag, unfortunately. Simon Welch, Will Davison, Tim Scott Andrews, James Stanbury, Paul Maguire, a non-starter. As we mentioned, so too was lead Andy Sadler after their issues in the earlier race. A dramatic race though, but a brilliant start to the season for Ian Jones.
This now means you are ahead of everyone in the championship.
Good. I hope it stays that way now. Perfect day. Absolute perfect day. Everybody drove well. Good old Compact Cup.
So, 2 race victories at Brands Hatch puts Ian Jones 8 points in front in the early title race, with Stephen Daly and Ben Huntley tied for second. Mark Skeets is 4th, and he's tied for the Masters lead with David May. Well, it's been an enthralling opening day of racing in the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. 3 action-packed encounters, 2 won by Ian Jones, but you never can keep Stephen Daly down for long. He will be fighting Ian for the championship all the way. 1 or 2 drivers had a few mishaps along the way, a couple of lengthy repair jobs to be undertaken before the next round at Alton Park in a few weeks' time. Make sure you keep up with all of the action on the BRSCC YouTube channel and join us next time at Alton Park for the next round of what promises to be a fantastic 2019 campaign.